Next on today, we're going to be taking the Transformers Legacy Buzzworthy When Creatures Collide 4-pack Predacon Scorponok. Before we take a look at that figure, let's take a look at the packaging. So, of course, on the front here, we do have Glowbug, Ransack, Skywasp, and Predacon Scorponok, which is the figure we're going to take a look at in just a second. Looking very cool with a ton of bridges and buildings behind him. Of course, we have all their names. Creatures Collide on the side here, we do have RC, Mirage, and Bumblebee looking very cool. I do apologize for the slight bad view of the box. I'm going to have to flip this around, which is a super big, long box. Of course, on the back, we have pictures of the robot and alt modes, and as for Predacon Scorponok, he transforms in 25 steps. That's pretty much it for the packaging, so let's now get into the review of Scorponok in his Scorpion mode. Let's take a look at the details. Staring at the claws here, looking very cool in this like silverish purple, looking very nice. There's also a lot of texturing on this Scorpion. There's some on the claws, the tail, a little bit on this neck section here, looking very cool. Going to the face, of course, we have some nice purple for those tusk sections, some red for the eyes, and of course black for the rest of the Scorpion face. There is also some more texturing on the Scorpion legs here, looking very cool. Of course, we have one back here. There's two in one ball joint, and there's, of course, one here alone, with lots of little spikes and some rough texturing, looking very nice. Of course, we have the huge stinger tail done in black and red, looking very nice. And overall, very simple, not a lot of details and colors to it, but overall actually looks super cool in my opinion. But that looks really, really nice. Let's now get into articulations. As for the claws, there is actually a swivel. I'm going to have to get a good grip on it. There is a swivel at the claw. Of course, you can open the claw and close it. There is also a hinge here out and in. There's also a swivel here and here. There's also a hinge here in and out. Also for the head, if you want to count this as articulation, it can go up and down, but that's not really articulation, I would say. As for the legs, there's a ball joint here. There's one ball joint for these two legs, and there's one ball joint back here. Unfortunately, there's really no hinge at like the knee. It's really just a solid leg, which is kind of unfortunate. As for the stinger, there's a ball joint at the stinger. There's a hinge here in and out. There is also, if you want to get this whole section, you can actually hinge this whole tail section forward, which will kind of mess up the transformation of the leg, but if you want it a little bit more forward and up, you can, and usually you can just hinge it back. That's pretty much it for articulation. I do apologize. He got a little bit messed up with his legs, so I do apologize. He's a little bit messed up. That's pretty much it for articulation and details. Let's now get into the accessories. He does come with three. The third one really, I would say, does not have much use for this mode. It is the alternate head, which of course this is the original head sculpt from the Kingdom Wave 3 Scorponok, which of course has more use in the robot mode, so I'll bring that back later. But overall, of course, it does have the same kind of silverish purple for the helmet section, of course these tusk pieces, and that white for the face and some yellow for the visor, which overall looks pretty cool. I actually do have his alternate head sculpt on there right now, so if you want to see it, it's actually right there, so that looks pretty cool. But of course, we'll get to that later. But as for the other accessories, you're going to want to open up the claws here, like that, and you can store them inside of the claws. And he does come with the exact same two that came with the other Scorponok, that being this little missile piece, which looks pretty cool in that red. And I also really do like how they added the maximal symbol. I actually checked the other Scorponok from Kingdom, and it did not have the maximal symbol on there, which I think it really should have. That looks super cool. So you can put it in either claw. Of course, there is a peg and there is a port in that claw. I'm going to put it in there right there. Unfortunately, that claw and the missile piece is actually very loose, so I do apologize if that pops out. It also does come with the Cyber Bee, which is a really cool feature that they included from the Beast Wars show. Of course, that same purple, the black, there's a little bit of yellow there, and it's the same thing. Of course, there is a peg, and there is a port. You can just plug that in, and you can close these two up if you want to. And if you want to, of course, fire them, just open those up, and you can shoot it out at the maximals. And that's overall pretty much it for the accessories. Let's now get in one quick comparison with the original version of this mold, the Kingdom Wave 3 Scorponok. As you can see, of course, mold-wise, they're the exact same thing. If you want to include that other head sculpt down there, sure, there is a difference in sculpt, but as for just the Scorponok you're seeing right now, they're the exact same mold. And I will bring out the other version of this mold from that Walmart exclusive subline for the robot mode for a quick comparison. Sandstorm. As you can see, same mold, really just down to the deco of this Scorpion mode. I have to say this one's my favorite of all three. I really do like that purple and black mixture. Actually looks super cool. The unfortunate thing for all three Scorpions is, I guess just on my copy, the legs are actually super loose. They easily get messed up and do not stay in position. So I kind of wish their ball joints were a little bit tighter, but that's just a small complaint. But that's pretty much it for the Scorpion mode. Let's now get into transformation into the robot. So what you're going to do is actually open this up, this whole cavity here. You can then hinge in the Scorpion head, and then you can close that up. Now you can get this whole hinge, you can close this up as well, and there you go. Then what you're going to want to do is go to the leg section here. You can unfold this, and also go to this other leg, and it's actually kind of inside the claw. As you can see, there's that little piece right here. You can just take this out, and this piece was through that little slot section right there. So you can hinge this down and just reposition the legs to neutral, just like this, and then you can twist at the waist. And then what you're going to want to do is have all the legs back. I'm going to move the camera up a little bit, zoom a little bit out, so you can see what I'm doing. And then you can get the shoulder, hinge this down, bring the head up, and then there is the waist. You're going to want to put it in that little slot section right there. I do apologize if it's hard to see, because it's really deep in there, but you're just going to want to tab this into place, which can be a bit of a challenge at times. You're just going to want to get it in that little groove section right there, which can be a little bit hard to do. And then you can just close that up, just like that, and then bring down the arms, just like that. So of course, just kind of reposition everything. And there is actually two ways you can position the claws. We're going to start it with it out, so of course you can have these really spread out back here, you know, have them all kind of angled up, or you can have them folded up, which I'll show a little bit later in the review. Unfortunately, in my copy, I can sometimes not get the chest completely flush, so that's pretty much of the transformation. I'm going to go offside, of course, try and get that those two panels fully flush and connected, and then, of course, we'll take a look at the details of the robot. Take a look at the details of the Transformers Legacy Buzzworthy when creatures collide Predacon Scorponok. So, of course, let's take a look at the details. So, as for the claw, of course, we have that nice purplish silver, looking very cool, and for that new mutant head sculpt, which, of course, was taken from the Sandstorm Walmart exclusive figure. I really do like that nice black, of course, red, yellow for the eyes, and overall looks very bug and alien-like. Looks super cool. Some more black and actually really cool layering and texturing there for this really nice charcoal black for the chest. Some more of that for the top of the legs. Of course, some more of that purple. Lots of spikes on there, and of course the feet done in that purple as well. And if we go to the back, of course, those really cool insect scorpion legs with some nice texturing and spikes. We have the whole stinger tail done in that black and texturing. Some spikes there. The stinger at the top done in red. Overall looks very, very cool. Let's now get into the articulation. So for the head, it can look up and, of course, side to side. It's actually a very stiff ball joints. And, of course, you can take that off and get the original Kingdom Scorponok head sculpt and put that on there, and I'll show that in just a second. Going to the back, of course, there is a ball joint at this leg, a ball joint here, and a ball joint here. As for the tail, there is a hinge here, and also another hinge here, and a ball joint at the stinger. As for the arm, there is a hinge here, a swivel there. Also, of course, the arm can move out and in, a swivel, elbow joint forward, and of course there is a swivel here, and of course the claw can open and close. So overall, very good for that. There is a waist swivel to a little bit. Unfortunately, of course, the claws can, or the legs can block some of that articulation. The leg can move that far out. Of course, can kick that far forward and that far back. There's also a knee bend, a swivel, and an ankle pivot. And that's pretty much it for articulation. Let me just kind of reposition him to be a little bit more neat. He got a little bit messed up. And yeah, as I said before, of course, this little missile piece can sometimes pop out when I don't want it to, so you just close that up so it will not fall out of his claw. So there we go. That's pretty much it. Let's now get into two comparisons. Here he is with Sandstorm. And, of course, between these two, they're the exact same figure. As you can see, of course, same head sculpt, and, of course, the body is the exact same thing. Really just down to the deco you like, and probably between these two, I'd prefer Sandstorm. I really do get that nice sand orange, the darker orange and the lighter orange. I really do like that with the nice purple. That's pretty cool. And then, of course, what we can do is bring out the original mold from Kingdom. And, of course, between them two, right now, the only thing different is the head sculpt. But if you want them to be the same, of course, you can just take this head sculpt off. Just take that off. Of course, you can put that off to the side, and then you can put this one on. My method is what you do is you start with the head facing up, you move it down, and then you push it in. That's just how I do it, because of course you could damage it if you kind of put it on forcefully. That's just my method. But of course now, between the two, they are the exact same figure. And I can just kind of scoot these down a little bit, and I can bring out the other version, Sandstorm. So let me know in the comments which one is your favorite of these three. I'm actually not really sure. I actually really do like Sandstorm. I really like the orange, but I don't know if he is my favorite. Of course, I can always go with the classic Beast Wars, but I really do like the purple from this one. So kind of unsure really at this moment, but maybe I'll know my favorite someday. And actually, I'd be perfectly fine if they made another version of this mold. I know I don't really want, like, you know, the Seekers from Siege where they make like 8, but maybe 4 max would be good. But overall, really cool comparison. Let me take these two off to the side. And let's now get into, of course, one quick feature. You can actually close up all of the insect legs to be a little more streamlined and, of course, less crazy. So what you can do is hinge the tail down a bit, and you can move these top ones in like that and kind of overlap. Same for these two right here, like that. Sometimes they can get a little bit tangled up. And just close these up, and then you can get the big ones. These just go straight up. And as for the tail, of course, it will have a little bit of limitation for the articulation now, but now it's a lot more streamlined, a lot more compact. It, of course, does have a bit of a backpack now, but if you want, of course, to conserve space in your display, you can fold those up, which is most likely what I'm going to do for my display for this figure, and, of course, the other two versions of this mold. But that's now pretty much it for the robot mode. Let's now get into the final thoughts. For the final thoughts for the Transformers Legacy Buzzworthy when we creatures collide 4-pack Predacon Scorponok. Starting in the robot mode, I actually really do like all the texturing on the claws, the insect legs, of course, the giant stinger tail looks super cool. Love the nice silverish purple for the claws, the head sculpt, and of course the shoulders. I just really do like the accessories, of course, the Cyber Bee and the missile piece. I actually really do like how you can, how there is a maximal symbol on the missile piece. It's actually kind of weird how they did not have that on the original Scorponok from Kingdom Wave 3. That's kind of weird, because I'm pretty sure in the show they showed that several times with the maximal symbol on there, so it's kind of odd. And I actually still do have the same wish or want that this figure came with 2 missile pieces, because I'm pretty sure in the show he didn't always have that Cyber Bee in his claw. Typically he had 2 missiles in each claw, so that would have been kind of nice if that was thrown in with this pack, especially because this is an exclusive. Overall, really good articulation. Of course, you can put the claws and the insect legs in several different ways. So of course, you can have them like this that I'm showing you right now, or you can actually fold them up for him to have a little bit more of a streamlined backpack. Of course, it will be a little bit more chunky on his back, but of course, it will be a lot easier to place him on your setup. Won't take as nearly as much space up for other figures. Complaint is, unfortunately, with this figure, with one of the claws, unfortunately, the bottom little claw piece typically wants to pop off a lot. It's actually this one right here, which is why I have it closed right now. Also, unfortunately, for the missile piece with both claws, it just wants to fall out like a lot, so that's kind of unfortunate, but not, I would say, a deal breaker. It's also really nice. It does come with an alternate head sculpt, so I do want to let you know, one of my friends actually got this figure, and he put on the alternate one, and it actually caused a stress mark on the alternate head sculpt, so you do not want to put it on by force. My method is really, you take the head off, of course, but how you do that is you actually move the head up, and then you take it off. How to put it on, you start with pretty much the head facing up like this, and then you put it down, and then you move it down like this, and then you push it back. That's just my method, of course, for this figure. For Sky Wasp, I think you really can just do whatever you want. You really just yank it off and put it on. It's super simple. With this one, I kind of found my own method, but of course you can have other methods if you want, or if you don't really care about a small stress mark, then go ahead, you can put it on by force. That's just me. Getting a transformation, of course, for robot to scorpion mode, or vice versa, of course, it's the exact same as the other two versions of, Sandstorm and the original Scorponok. So if you have any of those figures, you know exactly what to do here. I actually really do like scorpion mode, of course. My same nitpick stand with the claw, unfortunately, the missile piece falls out quite a bit. Also, the claw kind of sometimes just falls apart, so you really just have to pop the underjaw, this tiny piece here, back on. So that's kind of unfortunate. It happens, but it's okay if you just put it on a shelf and don't touch it. Of course, articulation is actually pretty good. Of course, you can move all the insect legs, individually. There's a lot of ball joints. It would have been nice maybe if there was a hinge joint at, like, the knee section of the leg, but of course, this is a repaint, so I was really not expecting for any major changes to happen to it. That's really just a complaint with the mold in general for this one and the other two ones. It'd been nice if there was a little bit more articulation for the legs, so you could get it in some more dynamic poses. It's also really nice how much articulation is in the tail. Of course, there's a ball joint, several hinges, so you can really get some some cool stinger poses like he's about to sting Optimus Prime or something. So overall, I actually really do like this figure. I actually highly suggest to get this pack. I got this early on eBay, but actually I heard it's actually on Target right now for about $80, I think. So I highly just suggest to get this. Yes, I know a lot of people are just going to get it and keep the Goldbug and sell the other 3 figures, but I honestly suggest to keep the other 3 because they're actually pretty good. I actually really do like the Scorponok mold in general, and I think this could be probably my favorite or second favorite version of the 3 so far. Let me know what you think of this figure in the comment section down below, and which one is your favorite of Sandstorm, this Scorponok, and of course the original Kingdom Wave 3 Scorponok. And that's pretty much it.